Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we are continuing our ranking of classic Doctor Who and modern Doctor Who, the series and seasons, from worst to best. And we are in the top 10 at this point. And I'm actually shooting from my balcony today. It's so nice having a balcony again, and it feels so good outside today, and it looks so nice outside today that I thought, gotta do the video outside today. Now, we are at number 6 on the list. What I think at the moment is the 6th best season/series in all of Doctor Who. And this one's going to come as a shock to a lot of people, including me. Because I wouldn't have thought this one would have been so high. But when I was making the list, this is where it ended up. And that is Season 16, the Key to Time season. Now I know what you're thinking, wait a minute, isn't that the one with Prowl in it? And you don't have to be someone who watches my channel very long to quickly catch on to my thoughts on Prowl. Because it tends to pop up in conversation a lot on this channel that I'm not overly thrilled with the power of Prowl. It is the only Tom Baker story that I think is just outright garbage. So, how does this season rank so high? I think a lot of it comes down to the love that I personally have for Ribos Operation. Ribos? I always forget. I'm going to say Ribos Operation. And The Pirate Planet. I love these two stories. Do I think they're masterpieces? Objectively? Probably not. I think they're objectively very good. Very good. I don't know if I'd call them masterpieces or even classics. But when it comes to personally how much I love them, I love two of these stories. They're two of my favorite Tom Baker stories. They have a rewatchability to them. And that is, again, this list, this ranking, a lot of it comes down to my personal subjective thoughts on the stories, not necessarily my objective thoughts on them. And a lot of that plays into rewatchability. How much do I like to go back and rewatch these stories? And those two are two of my favorite Doctor Who stories to go back and rewatch. I don't know why, but I love them both. They're so much fun to go back and rewatch. Everyone in like Ribos Operation, I like just about every cast member. Now the two con men, the main one, the kind of bigger one, he's phenomenal. He's perfect. Now, the other one, the one that does the story about the Screen Stone, yeah, he's kind of the weak link in the story when it comes to acting. But everyone else I like. The guy playing the Grath Vindicay is perfect at it, because he very much is this guy who is a terror. I mean, you get this sense of what he says and what he does and his actions that come to light, that he's a pretty spoilt little tyrant. But he thinks he's a great ruler, you know. He can't believe that when he left to go off to fight, when he came back, his brother had taken the throne and nobody wanted him there. He's outraged. He's like, how could they? When it's obvious to everyone else he's a bit of a tyrant. And then the older guy who's kind of his loyal right-hand man, who probably knows that his boss is a tyrant, but I always get this sense that he's loyal to that family. Like perhaps he was the Grath Vindicay's dad's right-hand man, and maybe even his dad's right-hand man, and that his loyal to the Grath Vindicay might not be so much that he likes him personally, but he's just a loyal soldier. That's what he is. You know, maybe he's known the Grath Vindicay since he was a boy or something, and he's just sticking with him because of loyalty. You know, and I like that. And again, a lot of that's just in my head canon, but it really adds depth to both of these characters. I like Benro, the character of Benro. I think he's acted really well. I like his manner of speak that he has, and the fact that his theories get him branded as a heretic, but his theories are right, that there are other planets and other worlds and other stars. I enjoy all of these little characters. You know, I like the little witch finder who reads the bones. She's a little over the top, but it's a good over the top, like someone who is putting on a show. I enjoy that. Only one shall live. Oh, I love all of that. I think the little creature that guards the little area, the little lizard creature, I think it's realized pretty well for classic Who. I like Tom and Romana in this. This is, of course, Romana's first story. And it has two scenes I absolutely love. When they first meet in the TARDIS, and I'm Romana Lundgren, and Tom Baker's like, oh, well, I'm terribly sorry about that. And then she talks about how great her score is, and he's like, "Are we supposed to be impressed by that, K9? Well, it's better than squeaking by with a D minus. Those records are classified." And then I love when they first get to Rebus, or whatever it is. And he's like, "Look, that's a long name. Your name, it's too long. By the time I yell that, we may be dead. So I'd rather just call you Romana." "I don't think I like Romana." "Well, it's either Romana or Fred." "Well, in that case, I think I'd rather be called Fred." "Right, come on, Romana." It's that kind of thing that only the Fourth Doctor can do, and I love it. "Right, come on, Romana." I love that. I love those little Fourth Doctor-isms, I call it. Like how Columbo has his own little Columbo-isms he does. The Fourth Doctor has his little Fourth Doctor-isms that I absolutely love. It's a good story. And again, it's another one of those where pretty much the only people to really get out of it are surviving are Romana Romana the Doctor and both of the con men. I do like the con men, especially the main con man. He's good. And then the Pirate Planet. I love the Pirate Planet. One, I love the fact the location, the film elements survived. I noticed that when I was watching the DVD a few months back. I was like, man, even just on the DVD, I was like, the location footage looks really good. And I got to wondering, does the film elements survive for this? I went and looked online, and sure enough, they do. And I'm like, if I could tell that just from the DVD, the film elements are going to pop when this comes out on Blu-ray. That's probably the thing I'm most looking forward to about the season 16 box set, is seeing the Pirate Planet with this location footage, on Blu-ray. That location work's going to look good. The story is phenomenal. I mean, I even read a novelization which added some stuff to it recently, which a review for that is up as well. And I love the story. I love the captain. Again, in the TV serials, played a little towards comedy, so you might not pick on how much of a genius the captain is, but if you really stop and look at the captain, he's a fascinating character. If you read the book, he's really fascinating. But even in the episode, if you pay attention, he's very fascinating, because he's obviously a genius. I mean, he built that ship, which is a marvel. He turned the planet into the vampire planet that it is, which is a marvel. And then that bit he sets up with the planets all equally balanced out, to where he tries to destroy the queen with it. Even the Doctor's impressed by the magnitude of it. Because even the Doctor's like, "I can't believe you figured out how to make this work." Time Lord is saying that. So the captain's actually a pretty intelligent man. And it's just kind of tragic what happened to him, getting turned into that cyborg that's basically enslaved to the queen. It's kind of tragic what happens to him. He doesn't want to be, he wants to be out searching the stars in his spaceship. That's why he gets mad when Mr. Feverly talks about how impressive the planet is. "This? Bah! You should have seen the ship it was made from now. She was a beauty." I love the captain. I mean, the actor playing him does a phenomenal job. I love him in it. Even when I was reading the book, while sometimes I would picture the captain differently because he described it a little differently in the book, I still always, when he talked, it was still that voice. "Mr. Fibula! Moons of Madness!" I love that voice. The voice is perfect. Tom has some excellent lines in this. I love when he first meets the captain. "Hello, Captain. How are you doing? It's nice to meet you. Have you met Romana?" I just love that. Interesting hospitality. I'm underwhelmed. I enjoy a lot of his banter. Nobody quite gets the Fourth Doctor the way Douglas Adams does, except Tom Baker. I mean, Tom Baker, of course, nobody gets the Doctor better than Tom Baker does. Or the Fourth Doctor, anyway. But I'd say if there's anyone that's close to him, it's Douglas Adams. So when you have Tom Baker and Douglas Adams together, and it's not surprising they got on really well in real life, that's a perfect storm of awesomeness. And while I can't think of examples right off the top of my head, there are just so many pieces of dialogue the Fourth Doctor has in this story that are priceless and phenomenal, and I love them. And they just fit together like pieces of a puzzle, Tom Baker and Douglas Adams. Some of the effects could use some updating. I never liked the fact that the guards' guns don't really shoot laser blast. I'd love to see those updated, kind of Day of the Dalek style, because the Day of the Dalek special edition really does make the execution of the story live up to the actual story. So I think if there's any story that needs updated effects in season 16, it's either Armageddon Factor or Pirate Planet, and I would be perfectly fine with it being Pirate Planet. Updating the laser blast, the force fields, some of the air car CSO. Sometimes when the Mentats are using their mental abilities, like when they knock Tom out at the end of part 1. I really think you could get this story up to a 10 out of 10. I already put it at like a 9 out of 10, an 8.8 out of 10. But if you could just polish off those effects a little bit and update them a little, maybe give the lasers a slightly better sound too, it could really knock it out of the park at a 10 out of 10. And I have a couple other parts. The guy playing the boy, the one the Mentats come to kidnap at the beginning, he's okay playing the character. I don't like that part at the beginning with the life force dying. It's not executed in the episode as well as it is in the book. And I like the fact in the book they're actually called the Mourners, which makes more sense than like Mediites or Mentites. See, the name doesn't make as much sense. I prefer calling them the Mourners. Does a little bit better job explaining why they're the Mourners. That and the scene in the episode when they use the wrench the spanner to break the machine is a little hokey looking. That's another effect they could redo to make look a little better. So the execution of the story is good, but the story itself is phenomenal. I love the Pirate Planet. It's so good. So good. It's nice to see Romana get a little bit to do in it too. Stones of Blood is an interesting one because I like aspects of it and I don't like other aspects of it. Like I always find watching the rocks move to be kind of silly. And the whole cult aspect toward the beginning I don't really care for, especially since the guy running the cult with the mustache kind of hams it up with his acting a bit, to be honest. I do like the scene when the rock comes across the campers and basically kills them. You see the girl's hand turns to a skeleton. That's cool. That's cool and creepy and Doctor Who, and I like it. I like the guest cast, the two women, the one that turns out to be the fugitive. She's good, and then the older woman there does a really good job as well. I like the hyperspace stuff, like the ship in hyperspace there, and it's been there forever, but nobody can see it because it only exists in hyperspace. I like that. It's not often Doctor Who really acknowledges hyperspace existing, so I like that. I like when they're on the ship, the interior is designed fine. I like the fact that the aliens that the Doctor accidentally let loose are not humanoid aliens, they're just the little swirly star things like energy. I like that. I like when Doctor Who does aliens that don't look humanoid or look like, an Earth animal but bigger, like they do sometimes. So I like the fact that the aliens really are very alien, and the Doctor's having to plead his case why he shouldn't get in trouble. I love the fact he puts on the little British wig. I know it's a little silly, but I love it. And Tom Baker just wears it fantastically. So I enjoy that aspects of it. I I enjoy that part of it. Like I said, the part on Earth, I don't care for as much with the cult stuff and the rocks, but the stuff on the spaceship, I enjoy. So it's like part of it I don't really care for, and part of it I really like. Androids of Terra is one that my opinion shifts on constantly. Like the first time I watched it, I really enjoyed it. One of my favorites of the season. And then the second time I watched it, I wasn't really very impressed with it, to be honest. I think I'd like it more if Romana didn't get just kind of reduced to the damsel in distress. I always wonder if it's this story that made Mary decide she didn't want to come back for another season. Because Romana doesn't get a lot to do here. She kind of gets reduced to the stereotypical 60s damsel in distress girl. Where she just constantly needs rescuing. Now, credit to Mary Tam. She's playing 4 characters in this story. She's playing Romana. She's playing the princess character. She's playing the robot disguised as Romana, and the robot disguised as the princess character. So Mary's got a lot to do in this story. But again, Romana gets captured. She gets freed by the Doctor, and then at one point she gets captured again. I'm like, oh, they rode off with Romana again. I feel like it doesn't utilize Romana well. That's my biggest problem. I love the location work. I love the fact that they have the pilot of the Happy Colony back playing the bad guy. He does a good job playing the villain of the story. I like the guy who plays the prince, and of course the robot of the prince, who's trying to get to his coronation. He does a good job. I enjoy a lot of the scenes in this. And again, I love the location work. I like when Come out, Doctor, we won't harm you. So the Doctor pokes his head out and they all try to kill him and he, liar! He pokes his head out and yells, liar. That's funny. It's a very Fourth Doctor thing to do. I love the fact Tom Baker gets some awesome sword fighting in. I like the fact the swords cause the little sparks when they're fighting. That's kind of neat. It's a nice little technological spin on a medieval thing, which is kind of neat. It's funny watching K9 on the boat. That doesn't seem very practical, but it amuses me. I always love when the Doctor gets in some sword play, so I very much enjoy that. Yeah, I like it. My issue, though, when I think about it, is just Romana being reduced to that kind of damsel in distress character and not really getting treated well in the story. And then, of course, y'all know how I feel about Power of Kroll. Very bad effects. It's a decent story. It's not a bad story. It's a Robert Holmes story, so you know it's not bad. It's a decent story. It's executed badly by a director who's not very good at directing Doctor Who. It's the same guy who directed Underworld. And I think those are the only two he did. They didn't have the budget to pull it off. The squid does not look good. The green makeup on the native tribesmen doesn't look well executed either. I don't really like the location work for this story at all. And I know that green makeup they had trouble getting off in real life. The location work just looks bad too. It's just all around, this one doesn't impress me. I much prefer the novelization of this story by far and away. If you're going to experience Power of Kroll, read the book. It's way better. And then I like Armageddon Factor. I don't think it's a classic. I do think it's underrated. It has issues with it. Like, I find Drax not the best pulled off. Nothing against the actor playing him. Nothing against the character being there. His characterization's kind of weird. Like that very, very thick type of British accent he has. I have trouble specifying what kind of accent that is. I just know it's a British accent. It's thick, which is a little irksome. So I don't think he's pulled off perfectly. The guy playing the Shadow, I think, is good. He's a little over the top. He's a little hammy, but it's not detrimental to the story for me. I'm still fine with it. The older guy who's being controlled by the Thing, who's constantly like looking at the mirror, he does a really good job. I like him playing the part. His right-hand man, I think, does a good job. Although he has this weird way of aiming the gun. Whenever he's firing his gun, he holds it up like this. It's like he stands rimrod straight and holds it like this every single time. And his face goes, every time he's using his gun, he's like, it's so weird. It's so weird. Other than that, though, he does a good job in the role. I think the effects are pretty good for it. It is a little effects heavy. I will admit, if they choose to do the updated effects for it instead of Pirate Planet, I'd be cool with that. It could use some updated effects, but I think the model work does a good job. I think it's pretty impressive, fitting for a season finale. I love the time loop idea of the Doctor creating the time loop and that it's stretching. It's slowly stretching. It's kind of the opposite of Eve of the Daleks, where it's a Groundhog Day thing that's getting shorter each time. Whereas in here, it's kind of a Groundhog Day thing that the Doctor, luckily, and Romana aren't trapped in themselves. He's using it, as a plot device to get to where he's got to do. It's part of the plot, but it's stretching, slowly stretching, and it has that little timer countdown to show that it's stretching. That's done really well. That's a neat little idea. I enjoyed that. I think the set design is okay. It's nothing superb, but it's okay. The revelation about the actual identity of the final piece of the key is interesting, and I didn't see that coming till close to the end. I find that interesting and liked that. It's nice seeing Lala Ward in this playing a different character as well. That's interesting. It's interesting seeing Mary Tim and Lala Ward on the screen together next to each other. It's kind of weird. I love the fact that when the Shadow tries to put the little control thing on the Fourth Doctor, being a Time Lord, it doesn't affect him. He just pulls it off. It's like, oh, this is interesting. I love that. That's hilarious to me. And then I like the ending with the Black Guardian. I love the fact that the Fourth Doctor figured it out, that it is the Black Guardian. And I love that whole ending scene when he's like, because I have the key to time. Well, what am I thinking of? I think Tom Baker plays that perfectly. I know the director wanted Tom to play that more sinister and evil. I think the novelization does it like that, to where it's almost like the Fourth Doctor is slightly tempted by it. But for me, that rings false. I think the way Tom Baker does it is perfect. Tom Baker loved the kids. I think he did it that way more for the children watching. And that was always a big thing for him. And I think that fits the Fourth Doctor perfectly. Like, I could picture 10 or 12 doing it sinister, but for 4, that's exactly how the Fourth Doctor would act. Again, a director should never argue with Tom Baker about how to play the Fourth Doctor. Nobody knows the Fourth Doctor better than Tom Baker does, plain and simple. So I think Tom Baker made the right choice, the way he plays that. I have the key to time. The way he does that is, for me, perfect for the Fourth Doctor. It encapsulates the Fourth Doctor perfectly, which I like. I enjoy that. And then when he does, kind of just snap out of it, like, well, I'm only being silly. And I love the fact that, again, he figures out that that it's not the White Guardian, it's actually the Black Guardian. And that whole bit about when he just, I wouldn't want anyone to think I was colorblind, and he activates all the TARDIS's defenses really, really quick. I love the fact that the Guardian, as powerful as it is, can't get through the TARDIS's defenses. That's interesting to know. And of course, the confrontation in their final words is the Doctor splits all the pieces back up, which I don't know if I quite buy that, because doesn't the White Guardian still need to get it briefly to realign everything? They could do a sequel series to The Key to Time sometime in the modern show. A little 6-episode thing, or, a season, Return to the Key to Time or something. I'd enjoy that, I think, depending on how they did it. But yeah, I like season 16. I mean, you have one story that is awful. You have 2 stories that I love. I'm not saying they're masterpieces, but they're 2 of my favorite stories to go back and watch, even if I might have nitpicks with each of them. You have another one that I half like and half don't, because it depends on the aspects of it with Stones of Blood. And then another one that I like, I just have one major issue with, and that's Androids of Terra. I just don't like how it treats Romana. The actual story I like, especially the location work. And then you have the season finale, which I think is good. Not a masterpiece, not necessarily even great, but good. Enjoyable to watch. Good way to end the season. So yeah, this is just kind of right now, at least, where season 16 falls. The fact it's higher than season 14 and 15 surprises me, and even 18, I believe, surprises me. I think part of that's just I haven't seen so much of 15 in so long, only owning Sunmakers on DVD. Looking forward to that season 15 box set. So I want to know what you think of season 16, how you rank their stories. Comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you like what I do and would like to support what I do. There's a link to that down in the description below, as is a link to my Amazon wish list, and my P.O. box is down there as well if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, Stephen and Colin. I appreciate both of their continued support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. And most importantly, thank you for watching.